I got two pieces. This is the first one. Dear Odysseus, it's Larry. I'm not sure if you even know me, but I'm one of the guys that you picked to tie you up to the ship's mast and put wax in your ears once we sail past the island of the Sirens. To be honest, I don't really see the point of this. Don't do it, man. Cersei told you what was up. Why you gotta even try and fuck with these hoes? She told you, man, if you beg and pray the men to unloosen you, then they must bind you faster. Doesn't really sound like the trillest plan, homie. I know you're on this like super gnarly quest or whatever, but hey, don't put me in a shitty situation, alright? I've been to Vegas with married guys, and this just sounds way too similar. I've never had to tie anyone to the mast of a ship before. Is there any chance I could like not do this for you or do something else? Could I like maybe cook you dinner or something? Also, why you gotta expose me to sirens who enchant all who come near them? Not like some people or like only those with weak hearts, all. I'm not the tightest tunic on board, but I feel like that applies to me. I also feel like earwax is not the best like option here, man. Isn't there something more substantial we could use? Best, Larry. You guys all read Odysseus, right? You know what that's about? All right, this one's about being on a whale watching journey, and it's called Fluke. So, Fluke. Winter carries the migration season, yielding the highest sighting to trip ratio for Flukes, a whale watching company based on the Central Coast in California. The tour ranges from the north point of the bay to the south, pauses, and returns. It takes about 3.5 hours and covers 43 miles. It is expected that a customer accepts the fact that nature owns the earth and the sea before embarking. However, accepting nature's own is a virtue that escapes the majority. Winter is the Leviathan's spring. They are called the breed in warmer water, filtering far more krill and inhaling much more air due to the natural conditions of the world. Thus, they embody the inherent instinct to procreate. They go to the warmer water to emboss nature's own, which makes for an easier exit for the babies. All of these occurrences and coincidences lend strength to faith. When questioned on faith, the captain responds that almost every passenger, once aboard the Fluke, believes they hold something incredibly unique within themselves. Indescribable by definition, it separates them as individuals, yet every one of them believes that this special thing, tickling somewhere in the stomach and slowly crawling toward the throat via the heart, will allow everyone else the privilege of a whale. They all believe that this is theirs and theirs alone. History informs us that nothing can escape witness, not even whales. However, the probability of seeing a whale while aboard the Fluke is obtained by the following equation. Does this thing do this? All right. Here's some math for you guys. PR times W is equal to NW divided by N. When the appropriate variables have been obtained, they must be entered into the equation, which is probability of whale sighting is equal to the number of whales times individual whale's surface time divided by total viewing time. If you've never seen a whale before, the possibility of seeing one becomes overwhelmingly compelling, and this irrational leap of faith is then acceptable. The Fluke itself is stereotypically simple. With a white arc and brown trim, it displays its name on its rear like girls in their sweatpants. Traversing like a snail, producing a subtle wake, it ascends to a higher level of whim when concerned with the wakes of the sea. It carries soccer moms, 49er fans, children, and on February 9th, 2007, 2 drunken fishermen named Steve and Pete. Trust that the best way to experience a whale tour is by being drunk. The effect of alcohol offers a complete dismissal of the cold and constant nausea associated with searching for something so much bigger than you. Steve and Pete, unmistakably yellow, are trashed. They found their niche early, threw away the receipts to their lives, and now own their entire being. Their jobs continue their lives, which continue their drinking. This lends to their appearance as caricatures. The intimacy of their existence is so refreshing that they can do nothing but enrapture the audience of the fluke by accident. As the fluke enters further into the sea, Steve and Pete seem to gain momentum in their intoxication. Having not seen any whales, the passengers shift their attention with their faith, forget their special things, or worry perhaps they really aren't special after all, and accept Steve and Pete as completely genuine. This is an example of how whale watching can become very boring very quickly, especially when a distraction this good exists. Steve and Pete plunge into reminiscence of a person known as Tate. The guy had no fucking eyelashes. I know, what the fuck? I can't believe that. It would only happen to him. So unlucky. Then they stop. A child asks his mom, "What happened to Tate?" "What? Keep your eyes peeled, dear. Look for whales." "I still can't fucking believe it," Pete says. Sometimes it happens. They drink, and Steve tells the story as ears angle. Tate woke up on a sailboat as he'd been doing for the past 6 months. He rubbed his eyes with his palms and stretched as he waited for the focused world. He liked the fractured onion rings of red and yellow light that lingered, but it disturbed his equilibrium. Tate hated being born in the age of whoop. Constantly ghetto blasting the glory of whatever became obnoxious. He made it work though. He was always clever in a text, and he surfed. He was only as good as everyone else because that's all he had to be. Everyone else was far too drunk or high to care. When the chance presented itself, he moved to the Sea of Japan and took a fishing job. He was 18, tan, and strong. His hair had always been short, but when he came back, his skin was softer and his eyebrows were dense. His hair was long and detracted to the attention from his eyes. It was nice to see him. He had acquired a sense of discipline, however, that was terrifying. It was like a reminder of liability. Tate would hang out with friends, but they saw their inevitable compromises in him, something they were unwilling to accept. He saved enough money to buy himself a sailboat. Tate and his friends saw an inconvenient truth while far too high, and he felt it was appropriate to find some solitude. "I just want to," he said, and he could, so he did. Tate wore plastic overalls over overalls every day. It made sense to him. He had accepted all the owns of the earth, but mainly nature's, and he knew that whatever happened to him at this point was fine. He would be okay as long as he could eat and drink. All he ate was fish, and all he drank was beer. He was skinny, malnourished, and didn't care. He could return to the world whenever he wanted. His dreams were of bodies expanding and contracting. He blamed them on the waves. The faces were the only things he's missed. He got up. The world was always overwhelmingly bright in those first few seconds. Nothing tasted good anymore, which was nice, because it cut down on the cost of other things, such as everything. The beer Tate drank kept him in a perpetual hangover, to which he had adapted. Tate caught fish. He was extremely good at it, and had an incredible discipline, because there really wasn't anything else to do. Tate sold fish cheap at ports and bought beer with his money. He left some of the fish in submerged cages attached to the boat like buoys. This kept them fresh and in shape. It helped in case of emergency, and if someday he became intolerant of the hangover, he could relax, actually drink water, and eat a meal. He finally felt safe and confident in the patterns of nature's own. One day the sun felt sleepy, its normal warming qualities diluted. It only seemed to be hanging there because of obligation, and that's when he spotted it. It was black, a stain on the sea, but at this point it was already far too obvious what was about to happen to him. So Tate got out a green, plastic-woven lawn chair, all the beer he had, and released his fish. He resigned himself to sitting and staring at the arcing awe that approached. It did not occur to him to run. Tate had seen the countless tragedies of the sea, even destroyed a whale when asked, but had never fathomed this. This was something in the vein of God's incessant responsibility to show up and prove himself. Tate had always lived as if nothing lasted forever, but as he sat at the end of his life, trying to intoxicate himself as quickly as possible to escape the coming pain, he thought of random things. He thought of when he lost his virginity to his cousin because he asked her what it was like, and she showed him because she felt sorry for him. They were only related by marriage, but still, it carried the inherent disgust of incest. He thought of the gun he had below deck and the whale he'd killed. He remembered how he'd deserted Pete and Steve and hoped somehow they would find out about this. He hoped it would affect them forever, and he thought how selfish it was to want to exist in eternity, but also how necessary it seemed. He thought of the first time he had beaten Super Mario 64 and how he felt invincible when he broke Jonah Caton's jaw. Somehow Tate hoped he would beat this. Then he thought about what that would mean, and he identified hope. Tate sat and watched as a great black wave in the middle of the sea curled towards him, hurling itself recklessly forward. Its waters were filled with sardines, a seafood chain phenomenon that tends to attract feeding frenzies. The thing that would inevitably kill Tate were these sardines. Their multitudes had attracted sharks, from blue to great white, dolphins, other large fish, and a whale shark. All of these creatures were trapped inside this one wave, accumulating as the wave moved through its monstrous trajectory. They were all visibly eating each other. This wave was a little larger than a two-story house and as wide as a football field. It had somehow been launched either by an isolated earthquake, an unexplained motion of the sea, or was the result of a mid-sized meteor crashing in safe proximity to the frenzy. In any case, at its most basic, it was a small tsunami in the middle of the ocean, densely packed with multiple means of death, descending on Tate. Steve finishes telling the tale. Crazy. Whatever, we're alive. Deal. The passengers who have been listening cope with the responsibility of retaining this story and how best to display it to their friends. They wonder whether or not it's reliable, or if it's just one of those things they simply have to accept as it is given to them. A humpback whale breaches from the sea. Its mass arches in the air. Everyone sees it, gasps, and falls silent as it sinks back into the water. The experience is comparable to watching a small child walk into the middle of an adult argument, saying, "What's wrong?" The calming of accomplished faith muffles the insanity of the world, like fresh snowfall, and for an instant everything seems, as it should be, fine. Fucking whales. Yeah. Woo!